Okay, we're slowly working our way through the tear down at the moment. I'm just about to take the handles out. I've already got the sun visors out and cleaned them. Took all the windows out of it yesterday, and as you can see, it's all nice and clean. No rust to speak of. Just have to clean off all that, all the goo that they seal the windscreens in with. When it comes to cleaning up any of this interior type stuff, I've found that just an orange power, it's like just a bathroom type cleaner. It's not too strong, not too harsh, and a gentle scrubbing brush gets into all those little fine little craters that's in that kind of interior material. It's only on there for a couple of minutes anyway while it's been gently scrub it, and then just a microfiber towel to wipe it all off, and then go over it with a bit of fresh water on a fresh towel. They come up pretty good. Any of the interior trim that's like that, the plastic rear C-pillar covers, they get done the same way. It comes up pretty good, and I'll probably attack the roof lining with it too before I take it out. It's a bit grubby in spots. In general, for a car of its age, it's exceptional as far as rust goes. I haven't seen any big patches yet, and there's just a couple of little bits down in here, which is really only surface rust anyway, which needs just a little bit of a wire brush and some acid and some etch stuff on it. So the dash needs repainting as well, so everything else is out of it too. There's a couple more bits that have already cleaned up the vents, and all come up pretty well. And the dash itself, $39,984, and I reckon that's original. I don't even think that's been around. All tidied up really well. Any of the plastic stuff that needs polishing, I found that plastic polish to be pretty good stuff. You don't go through very much of it, so I think that lasts years and years. The pedal box out of it, and the condition of the pedals, the rubbers, they usually wear away fairly quickly. So to me, 38,000, 39,000 Ks on the clock, looks like it could be genuine. Now, I've seen heaps of these interior lights destroyed before. Most of them just get so old that the plastic just crumbles. But also due to people not knowing how to take them out. Easiest way is to get I've just got a piece of bloody galv strapping here. Make sure the edges are nice and rounded. Just slide it in under this edge of it, and then just push it in gently, and out it comes. That there is what I pushed in with that little flat blade. Once you push that in, it releases from the just a piece of metal behind it. So they come out quite easy once you know how to do it. And see how that there sort of bends. Mind you, most of them they just crumble into a million pieces. That's the roof lining all cleaned. It'd be nice to be able to actually just leave it in there, but all inside the boot needs to be painted, and don't want to run the risk of it getting paint all over it. It's not old and hard and cracked at all, so it should be easy enough to peel away from the edges. Famous last words. So the car's mostly stripped out now. We've got to start looking at the gearbox and its mounting. This one's the 5-speed that's going in there. Just the Ford T9 style. This one here's a standard 4-speed. It's actually out of my old Mark 1, but they're all the same size. As you can see, where the gear lever goes in this one sits way back from where the extension finishes, and with the Type 9 it's right back there. There's a couple of different options with this. Either way, the existing gearbox mounts in the tunnel have to come out because this is a manual tunnel. If it's an auto tunnel, you're right, you can leave it the same. There are some options to actually cut that off and move it forward, or to actually just relocate the hole in the transmission tunnel. We still don't know exactly which way we're going to go with this one yet, because as it is an original RS2000, and it's a quite clean one at that. As you can see by all this, there's virtually no rust in the car whatsoever. We may leave the hole there and make the mod to the gearbox, but what I've got to do first is just measure up exactly where all the items are, where the gearbox mount is, and to do that I've just made up a simple jig which attaches to the back of the gearbox there, and all I've done is measured the distance, the centerline distance down from the shaft down, and made sure it's the same front to back. That way it's just measure across here. It's a little bit hard to see, especially when I'm not pointing it the right direction. But the measurement there of 195 is the same as the measurement there. So I've got myself a datum now that I can measure down and up to figure out where all the parts are, and also along this way from the 0 point, which is in line with the end of the bell housing. So I measure all those up on both gearboxes and figure out exactly where things need to be changed, how far back and down things are. So I think these are a different distance down on both of these as well, definitely in different locations. Well, after measuring up the gearboxes, I've now found out the amount that it's got to be moved. So I've made up a little jig. Here's my digital readout, so I'll just zero that on the chassis rail, and you'll see what I'm up to in a minute. It's down under here. So I get there. I've made up this jig that bolts to the existing gearbox location. So now that I know the gearbox mount needs to come back 40mm and down 20mm, I can cut the existing gearbox mounts off and be able to move them exactly the amount that I need. And this is where the digital readout comes in. So I'll just put it up on there, it's slightly out. There you go, it's 0. I'll nip it up at that. So I know that pipe's at the same angle as the chassis rail, so that when I bring it back 40mm it's going straight back in a line. So I can tighten all that up now and take it out. Then I can adjust it the required distance. It's probably hard to see. I'll show it to you once it's out. Okay, this is the jig now out of the car. That rear end there, it bolts up to where the two-piece tail shaft. It's got a couple of bolts in the floor, just a couple of M8s, and that's the front gearbox mount. So all I need to do now is when it comes time to put the mounts back in is drop that down 20mm and move it back 40mm at the back of it there. This other one here is another gearbox mount. Bit of a push it up attempt. It came with the 5-speed gearbox, and as you can see, it's about 40mm back from the centre line back to the centre there, but it's way too thick. It's about 40mm thick instead of being 20. There we go there. And what that does is it puts the back of the engine down at too much of an angle, and it screws with all the driveline angles. The universal joints are designed to work with the engine at about 4 degrees, I think, and the diff pinion angle up at about 4 degrees. Now if that drops the back of the gearbox down, all your angles go wrong and you enter a world of trouble when it comes to vibrations and things generally not working right and the universal joint's not lasting. So after a few minutes with the angle grinder, these are now cut off. If you wanted to be really pedantic about it, you could have probably drilled out all the spot welds and popped it off, but I don't see much point in that. These have got to come back here and down a bit, and so the sides have got to have a little bit of reshaping done to them to start with, because the tunnel changes its shape here. Between here and here it's a different shape. So anyway, they're all off now. I'll get them all cleaned up and get that area back in there cleaned up as well. Then I'll put the jig back in it, and we should be able to put these in to suit the new gearbox. I'm pretty sure the top's going to have to come out because I don't think there's enough height in there, and that's why a lot of people drop the back of the gearbox down, which is wrong.